Hey, happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer here once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. I am the Grand Poobah of the Gaming Gang, by the way, in case you don't know. If this is your first time popping in to check out The Daily Dope, this is Wargame Wednesday, and on today's show, I'm going to share a bit of a how to play and review the modern edition of Warfighter from Dan Verssen Games. So that'll be coming up in just a little bit. I am devoting pretty much the entire show to the how to play as well as the review, but not the entire show, not in complete entirety, right? So I do want to mention, if this is your first time joining me, a very casual show. Usually I do some tabletop gaming news. I'm not doing that tonight, but I always feature some sort of a game unboxing or maybe a page through for an RPG book, or like tonight, do a review. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, July 3rd. This is episode 327 of The Daily Dope. Because this is a live stream, there is chat available on YouTube. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I kind of keep some of the stranger commenters at bay, but I do pay attention to chat. So if you want to say howdy, or maybe you've got a question, or maybe there'll be something about Warfighter you want to get a little more information about or have me kind of focus in on, by all means, please chime in chat and I will respond. If you like the video, please give it a quick thumbs up. If you dig the videos on the channel, by all means, please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, don't forget to ring that bell. And that will let you know when a new video is uploaded, as well as when the Daily Dope actually begins its live stream. And of course, if you like thegaminggang.com or the Gaming Gang channel or the Daily Dope, please tell a friend. In fact, tell 2 friends. So let's see what's cooking tonight. I'm wondering, because for some reason my chat client hasn't been working right lately. So I'm going to just real quickly stop this and start it again. Because the other night we had a bunch of people, well, I don't want to say a bunch. The other night there were folks who were in chat. There we go. Yeah, see? So we got Hubcam 210. We've got Dan from No Enemies here. We got Kabuki Kid. They're all hanging out in chat. See? Now, if I hadn't started up my chat client again, I'd have thought nobody was hanging out watching. Okay, so real quick, what I want to talk about is what's coming up on the show next week. Because I will be off tomorrow for the 4th of July. I'm also going to take Friday the 5th off as well. So I'll have a nice 4-day holiday. There are 4 lights. I know, nobody's going to get that reference. But anyway, I thought that toss that out there. So I will be back all next week. And then the following week, I will be heading out to San Diego for San Diego Comic-Con. But I should have a couple of shows on Monday and Tuesday. So on next Monday's show, I will be unboxing and taking a first look at Valparaiso, which is the latest release from my friends over at Stronghold Games. This was their Origins Game Fair release. So this is kind of an economic game in 16th century Chile. So that would be, oh, look at Kabuki Kid says, don't underestimate our Trek knowledge. Thank you, Kabuki Kid. And well, you know, that used to be a running gag with my best friend Elliot and I, and it would just be out of nowhere, right? We'd be doing something and just one of us would go, there are 4 lights! Or 3 lights, whatever it was. I forget. Anyway, so on Tuesday's show, I'll be unboxing and taking a first look at Aeon's End, which is from Indie Boards and Cards. This is a cooperative fantasy card game. This is kind of a deck builder, too. Heard good things about this, so we're going to take a look at the core set. Then, next Wargame Wednesday, I will be unboxing and taking a first look at 1754 Conquest, the French and Indian War from Academy Games. Also going to take a look at the Native Alliance expansion, which is an extra little deck here that's kind of added to the festivities. But I understand when the French and Indian War released for Academy that they released Vikings right about the same time, and everybody was buying Vikings, and the French and Indian War kind of flew under the radar like it does in regular history, I guess, right? So I was asked to take a peek at that, and I'm a big fan of 1812 Invasion of Canada. So it's the Birth of America series, same kind of mechanics, though every game's a little bit different. Then on Thursday's show, I will be reviewing the Dungeons & Dragons Essentials Kit. Yes, this is the new kind of starter set that came out from Wizards of the Coast. Give you a little hint. I'm very, very impressed with what's in here, especially for the price. And then on Friday's show, yesterday I messed up. I said that I was going to be reviewing Champions of Hera, which is not what I've got planned for next Friday. I was actually upstairs playing this, and I forgot to bring it down, and not thinking, I just grabbed the other box. And this is heavy because I've got the first adventure path in here. But I will be reviewing the Pathfinder adventure card game, the new edition core set. Like I said, this has got a lot of heft to it now because I added the Curse of the Crimson Throne expansion in there. So I think it's about 1,000 cards and a bunch of other stuff in there. So haven't played enough of it to give you a little clue on what's coming up, but I am very impressed by just the sheer number of individual cards. Not a lot of duplications and things like that, so pretty sweet. So that is what's cooking on next week's shows. So hopefully you'll pop in to join me for those. All right, I am going to get into Warfighter in just a second, but do want to also mention that if you do follow thegaminggang.com or watch the Daily Dope from time to time, then you already know that this is kind of a not-for-profit endeavor. So if you do like the site or the channel or this show, by all means, please consider making a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. That's right, Lil Bub's Big Fund does provide grant monies to organizations around the United States that care for special needs animals who are awaiting adoption. They're awaiting finding a forever home and forever owners. These are not kill shelters or anything like that. So, I am a huge proponent of shelter animals and, of course, special needs animals even more importantly. So, do want to mention that if you like the show, if you like the site, consider throwing a couple of bucks towards Lil Bub's Big Fun. It'll make me happy, and if you do so, please shoot me an email. It's Jeff McAleer at thegaminggang.com. Let me know, and I will give you a quick shout out on the following show. All of a sudden, it's like my throat is all like that, tightened up, and much better. So Dan from No Enemies here says, "Hey, I played the first 2 Pathfinder card games. Like I care, Dan." I'm just teasing. The Madman is here as well. I was talking about Lil Bub's Big Fun, and the Madman kind of slipped on into chat. So anyway, what was 2 other quick things. One is I am considering changing up the graphic logo for the Gaming Gang to kind of celebrate my 10th year of covering tabletop games, which will begin in September. I'm thinking of doing a contest because I have, as I said on Twitter, I have the graphic skills of a toddler, and no offense to toddlers out there. So I might do a contest, do some game giveaways, maybe have have some folks out there try to design a new logo, and then kind of take it from there. Have people vote on it, what have you. But I got some goodies. I got some contest goodies coming up next week. Might be talking about that next Friday. Other thing is that somebody had, well, not somebody, I've had a few people ask, I guess over the past few years, how come I don't have like a caricature of me like a lot of these people do for, you know, tabletop gaming and stuff like that. And it's like I said, yeah, my face is goofy enough. I don't need a caricature. So Kabuki Kids said they played the brand new Pathfinder adventure card game a couple of weeks ago as well. So Dan asks, any new music? I don't know. I mean, I have some ambient music that plays during, you know, while I'm talking and things like that. It's all just royalty-free stuff from YouTube. So as far as the opening music, I'm already playing something with the little, you know, the little, what do we want to connect? It's not an intro, really. It's kind of, hey, you're waiting for the stream to start seconds. That music is from Dan, actually, so pretty cool. All right, for some strange reason, I don't know if it's coming across through the stream or if it's just on my end I see this. It seems like every once in a while I'll get like a little chop in the video here, but it doesn't look like there's any sort of drop frames or anything like that, so that's kind of strange. So I'm sure folks are probably tuning in because they want to learn about Warfighter, the Tactical Special Forces card game, or as I'm calling it, the Warfighter Modern Edition from Dan Verssen Games. It is designed by, ding, 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 ding. If you guessed Dan Verssen, you're a winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. The game is for 1 to 6 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 30 minutes or more. It's going to depend on the scenario. It's going to depend on how many players are actually taking part. The core game does carry an MSRP of $59.99. I'm going to talk about some expansions as well. These expansions do carry an MSRP of $19.99. So let's move on over to the other camera, and I have really had to crank that camera way up there. Look, it's like 3D coming right at you. Coming at you. May remember that 3D movie, which was horrible back in the 80s. So anyway, so I had to pull the camera way back because this board is pretty large. In fact, I actually have to like kind of rest this part of the board on a. It's not flat here, so I got to be careful that I don't accidentally like lean here because I'm sure I will bend the board. But anyway, got a few people talking about the World War II version of Warfighter, which I do believe is probably the more popular of the two. There is a Warfighter Shadow War release. It's another standalone that is coming, I think, in August. I'm pretty sure that's coming in August. So, anyhow, first off, let's talk about the rulebook. So, and I'm going to toss my reading specs on. I will zoom in on a lot of this stuff, especially when we're talking about cards and things like that. Do want to point out this is going to be more of a kind of a higher level look at the game. I'm going to talk about different things, but I'm not going to sit here. We're not going to play through a bunch of turns or anything like that. There are a lot of little things to the game itself that I'm probably going to gloss over or just actually completely pass over. Kabuki Kids says they had a little zombie expansion for Warfighter, and it's actually in this book. Right here. Wait, where was it? There you go. Undead Alternate World War II Setting. So there's a few pages about that. So anyway, so we've got this rule book, which was revamped in October of 2018. And for the most part, it's good. It's long. And I'm sure looking through this will scare off people who do not like really, really long rule books. So I do want to point out, don't be too freaked out because it's not as many pages of actual rules as you may think. Now, when I did an unboxing, we kind of paged through the book as well. And like the first few pages, we're looking at, it's just kind of giving you a breakdown of the cards and the board and so forth. So we're already, what, page 13, and we're still looking at anatomies of different cards. So, first 16 pages is really kind of talking about the setup, and it's kind of explaining the different cards to you as well. So the actual rules for the gameplay are about 20 pages. So nothing too insane. A couple of things I do want to point out about this. This is supposed to be like a universal rule book, which I completely understand. You see that with GMT games all the time, where it's like, okay, so this is our system book, and then depending on what the specific title is or era or genre, they'll have a kind of a special rules booklet. So I understand the universal rulebook aspect, but number one, they show us the tactical display sheet, which is this board here. It's not the same. It's completely different. Some of the cards are different as well. The focus of this rule book, and I know it shows on the front, it says fantasy, which isn't out, near future, which isn't out, unless that's maybe the Shadow War, but I don't think it is, and World War II and modern. The focus in this book is World War II. There is no doubt about it. Basically, every card is showing World War II. There's campaign information in the back, so we're talking about different missions. So we've got campaigns, Wake Island, and then there's Dunkirk. And so none of this applies to the modern, which kind of sucks. I'll be the first to point this out. We got airborne missions. We've got shore invasion missions. None of this has anything to do. Vehicles. A little bit with the modern, but not much. So, and then we even get this alternate World War II setting for zombies. Kind of a bummer. It's kind of a bummer that that the modern edition kind of gets the short end of the stick as far as his rulebook goes, and as far as campaigns go, and things like that. So, did I get the Foot Locker? I'm not sure if Kabuki Kid is asking me. I did not get the Foot Locker per se, but I do have some expansions. I will show those off a little bit as well. So the premise of Warfighter is effectively you're going to have a group of soldiers. Now, it's not necessarily a squad, because depending on the mission that you've got and the number of resource points that you're able to utilize, you may only really be controlling a handful of soldiers. It is for 1 to 6 players. That's something else in the rules that doesn't really kind of come across. There's really no explanation. How do you play this game with more players? You just kind of have to figure it out on your own, which the funny thing is, I'm talking about this rule book as if I don't like this game, and that is not going to be the case. I'm just explaining that the Universal Rulebook from October 2018 could be improved tremendously, especially if you're not playing the World War II. There's just, I don't know. I mean, it's almost as if the idea is, the assumption is you can figure this stuff out on your own. That's unusual for a Dan Verssen game. I am a huge fan of Phantom Leader. Love that game. I really enjoyed Napoleon, Field Commander Napoleon, even Rise of the Zombies, which unfortunately I no longer have, which I do believe is kind of the inspiration for Warfighter. Really, really dug that as well. So, anywho, so what you're doing is you're leading a team of soldiers in a mission to be able to satisfy an objective, to complete an objective. So it's all going to be determined by the mission that you're choosing, the objective that you're choosing. So the way I'm going to kind of give you a tour of this board here. And I do want to point out, I am up in the corner. My mug is blocking out the mission timer, which is basically a turn tracker. So each of your missions will have a certain number of turns that you've got to be able to complete your objective. Otherwise, it ends in failure. There's also a little setup information right up in the corner here as well. So you're really not missing a whole lot. We get a little timer marker that we use to count down the turns. We also have a turn sequence area for information here. So it's talking about our soldier turn as well as the enemy turn. Then when we make attacks, it's talking about our soldier attacks as well as hostile attacks. This area here where I've got the soldiers, I don't think that's where they're supposed to go. But there's really no information. Like I said, the layout in the rule book is not it. It's not this board. So in the rulebook board, the rulebook board looks much smaller. So this does actually take up a good amount of space, as I pointed out before. So we're going to have our hostile deck depending on the location that we're taking on. So in the core game, we have the jungles. So it could be like jungles of Colombia, and we're taking on drug cartels. We also have the opportunity to be in the Middle East. And with the Middle East, we have two hostile decks. One is insurgents, and the other is actual military forces. So to kind of give you an idea of the different decks. So that's what comes in the core game. Now, there are some other expansions that do bring new theaters of operations, a lot more weapons, more soldiers, things like that. So we have our action deck, because the game is going to be powered in some respects by our action deck, by action deck card usage. So it's a fairly decent sized deck. As far as the multiple players, you'll have a player soldier, then you have like a non-player soldier, kind of like an NPC. Then you've got what they call squad soldiers. So when you're spending your resource points, you can get like a player soldier and, you know, an NPC or NPS or a squad soldier. So basically the way we were playing multiple players is that we just spent the resource points on a actual player soldier, and then each player will get a number of action cards based on the health of their soldier. So what we were doing is, it's basically, well, if we had two players and each of the soldiers had a health of 6, each of us got a hand of 6 cards to start off with. So that's kind of how we played it. Like I said, there's really no indication in the book how you're supposed to play with multiple players, unless somehow I passed over that information. So anyway, so we've got our action deck. Then we've got kind of our mission deck, our location area down here, which we will see based on what our mission is, that these are where we're going to have location cards that come out, and that's where our soldiers actually are. So you actually see I've got three counters on this covert card, and the covert card is basically showing this is our entry, right? So I'm going to start showing off the cards. So I'm going to zoom in. And I am going to move this out of the way. I'll come back to that. So we have mission cards. So the mission card is going to tell us a few different things. So we have for the jungle, right? So I'm just kind of showing off the taking on the drug cartels. So we've got some objective cards, we've got some mission cards. Now, one of the things I want to point out is in the Middle East cards, they actually have real photographs. Some of these for the cartel have photographs, or they have like really kind of crappy artwork from what looks like a pretty lame video game, which I know it's not a lame video game. It's just cheapo 3D art, which I am not a fan of. Once again, it's not going to impact what I think of the game, but I would have liked to have seen. It's kind of jarring when you've got all these photographs, like we've got photographs of our soldiers and everything, and then suddenly we get this oddball like cartel boss card where it's like, what? It's like, hey, 2001 called, they like their graphics back. Anyway, so we'll have some objectives and we have some missions. So we have the missions first, and then we have the objectives. So there are not a ton of missions and objectives in the core game. There's enough for you to kind of mix and match, of course, but I do point out that the expansions really bring a lot more stuff out. So Dan says Counter-Strike images. Oh God, no. Counter-Strike graphics look way better, I think. Then again, it's been a long time since I saw Counter-Strike. So we've got, this is a covert operation. So it's gonna tell us entrance 0. So that means how many points have to be expended to actually move to this card. So we're gonna see different numbers up here. And when I show you the soldiers will actually have like a movement number. So it's showing it's an entrance 0. So this is where our soldiers start off. And we can basically put them like so. Now, there were some minis that were included, just like this. I mean, they're cool. I mean, they're pretty cool. They're like 15 millimeter miniatures. And, but the thing is, it's like they're not numbered. I mean, obviously, you could paint them and then use a marker to put a number on them. And that would probably look a little bit cooler. But I don't know. I mean, the counters to me are fine. Just like I do want to point out, you can get bullet dice. So that's a 10-sided bullet die there. And this is a 6-sided bullet die because you're going to use 6s and 10s. I mean, they're kind of cool, but I'm just traditional. You know, I just like my regular 10-sided and 6-sided dice. Another thing is, this can easily just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. So, whereas the polyhedral dice don't happen to do that. I've also got a little box, my little Valley of the Kings box top. We play this a lot, so that's why I always have this box around, because it's actually a really cool deck building game. Anyway, but we're not talking about Valley of the Kings. We're talking about Warfighter Modern. Okay, so anyway, it's going to tell us the resources. So these are the resource points we have available to us to recruit our soldiers, get equipment, get skills, so on and so forth. It's going to tell us, okay, how much time? So we've got, time shows 8, so that means we've got 8 turns. We've got 8 turns to be able to take care of our objective. Shows us the objective, so shows a number 4. Now, when I pull back out and I show you the track, you're going to see that we've got these different card slots. So we have to go 4 locations to get to the objective. So we know kind of how far we need to go to get to our objective. We just don't know what we're going to encounter on the way. Then we get a loadout, which basically is, the loadout is how much weight your soldiers can carry, because this is a little bit longer mission, not real long. It is saying that our loadout number is a -1 for each of the soldiers. Then we see a special kind of keyword is recon. Now, I do want to show, we've got this card here, and I will show it off in more detail when I zoom back out. It is a card that shows keywords, and it is just, well, it's like 6 pages of keywords. So it's almost like, well, they're not necessarily keywords now. They're just words that are used on the cards or in the rule book. But it does make for a pretty easily understood kind of reference sheet. But the whole point of using keywords in a game design is that you don't have 1,000 keywords. So I find it funny that they actually refer to it as keywords. But it tells us we can recon. So what recon's going to allow us to do is, it's going to allow us to look through our action deck and pull out the first location that we find and put it into a player's hand. And I will kind of show you how we do that. So that is the mission card. Then we have the objective card. So the objective card is a location. So this is a location card just like the mission card, but now we see it says entrance 3. So what that means is that's how many movement, that's the movement allowance we have to have for a soldier to move into this location. We show that's inactive because we haven't gotten there yet. We can activate this once we have soldiers adjacent to this location. So it's going to tell us, okay, so what do we need to do here? It says destroy 3 huts, structure, explosion attacks only, +0 size, defeat cover. You know what? Let's change this up. Because I don't have a loadout for explosives with these soldiers. So we're going to do the cartel boss instead. It says kill the boss. 0 size, defeat, cover 3, 2 kills, hostiles, screen the boss. So we're going to see in these different locations, we're going to see these numbers. It'll say like hostiles 5, 6, 7, 10, 13, 17. This is going to be based on our resource number that we had for the mission. So we had 37 resource points. So we are going to look at, whenever we get a location, when we're looking at like hostiles, we're going to take a peek at 30 to 49. And that's the number of points of hostiles that we will have attacking us. So that is pretty much, it's telling us we got to kill the boss. It's going to tell us how many hits we got to put on there. We have to defeat cover 3, which I will talk about cover when we get to attacking. So we basically need to score 2 kills on this, and there we go. So screening, once again, we would have to look, okay, so what's screening? Well, let's get this sheet out here. It's actually 8 pages. Did I say? No, it is. It's 6. Screening. So here it says the card must be suppressed or killed before the hostiles with the noted XP value in its location can be attacked. So what it basically means is whatever other hostile cards are in this locale, we got to do something about them before we can even try to tackle the cartel boss. So let's take a look at soldiers. Well, actually, you know what? We're talking about hostiles. Let's look at the hostiles. So we got a hostile deck here. This is for the jungle. So we also have a hostile deck for the Middle East. Oh, those are objectives. For military forces, and we also have insurgent forces. So if we were playing Middle Eastern missions, then we would be using that deck. I will also show off the action deck too. So anyway, so these are the hostiles that we run across. So I'll give you an example. Flip this guy over. So he's got a value of 0. He's just a thug. So he's got a thug. He's got cover 2. So when we roll to attack, we roll a 6-sided die. So we need to have 2 or higher. And then when they attack us, they can only attack at a range of 0. So they can only attack into the same location that they're in. So if we aren't necessarily in that, they can't attack us. And then when we roll a 10-sided die, it's going to tell us what the result of their attack is. Now, there is a way for you to determine who are these guys attacking. I'll show you that when we get to the attack phase. So that gives you kind of an idea. So if we went to a location, for an example, we see here this says reinforce 0 or 1. If we've got a location that we still have soldiers in, we will pull reinforcements every turn that we're still there. And this would be like a value 0, excuse me, value 0 guy. So they would actually reinforce whoever was there, or if it was empty, they would actually be a new enemy. Let's find somebody who's higher. Okay, so for an example, we get a sniper, right? So if we pulled a sniper, well, the reinforce is 0 to 1. That's too high, so there'd be no reinforcement. So that kind of gives you an idea how these locations kind of work. So we've got that. We've got the hostile deck. So let's look at soldiers. So this is a player soldier. So it's going to cost us 9 resource points to bring this soldier in. We got the soldier's name. We get a actual photograph telling us who this is a photograph of. Tells us we've got a health of 6, so that means that this player soldier will get a hand of 6 cards to play with. A loadout 11, that means we've got 11 points that we can utilize as far as weight, and each item will tell us what the loadout is. Now remember, because of our mission, we're at -1, so our loadout here is 10. Then we get a plus health, nothing, and he's got a cover of 2. Now this little arrow here is showing this is the movement. So as we can see, this guy's got lead in his ass because his movement allowance is a lousy 1. We would have to burn a bunch of our cards just to move this guy around. So there's equipment and skills that you can purchase. So I will show you some of that. So here's the M16A3 rifle, which is the main weapon that I purchased for our player soldier. So we can attack up to 1 card away. If we roll a 2 or less, so a 1 or a 2, that means we need to reload. We've used up a clip of ammo, and then we've got kill numbers. So it's 0 if I roll 7 or higher, that's a kill. If I roll 8 or higher at 1, it's a kill. You have cover numbers too, which I will show you when we get into that. We can also fire semi-automatic, we can fire a burst, or we can fire auto. So basically, rolling semi-automatic, you're going to roll 1 die. If you're rolling a burst, you're going to roll 2 dice. And if you do auto, you're going to roll 3 10-sided dice. And your 6-sided die for each of those. So, kind of give you an idea. We got the ammo here. There are 6 ammo counters. So let's say I rolled a 1 when I did an attack. I would flip that over, showing it's empty because I have to use an action to reload. And then I would discard that. And then I got another ammo clip. So it'll tell you on the card how many clips or counters, I guess we'll say, for ammo that you get. It'll also tell you what kind of ammo you've got. So it is possible for soldiers to trade ammunition between each other as long as they've got the same sort of ammunition. Granted, it just says ammo on here. It's not telling you a specific caliber of ammunition. That's why it's right there. The caliber shows you right there. So we've got the M16A3. I also gave Gene Camelli, I believe is the pronunciation of the name, gave him a marksman skill, which adds +1 to their ranged attack rolls. Because he is so slow, I went and got knee elbow pads, which adds 1 to the movement value, and it shows what the loadout cost is. I also got a first aid kit, as I try to slide this on over. So there's the first aid kit, which gives me 4 bandage counters, and it's a cost of 2. And we can try to heal other soldiers' wounds. So by rolling a 10-sider. So that is what we've got loaded out for our player soldier. Then we have the non-player soldier. And it will indicate the non-player soldier right here, NPS, on the card. With this character here, it's showing they've got an M4 carbine. So I actually took the M4 carbine card and included it with the non-player soldier. Now, we don't have to pay for this resource. We don't have to pay for utilizing the M4 carbine because he comes with that. Then it'll show he's got a health of 3. And with non-player soldiers and squad soldiers, they have a number of actions they get to use. They don't actually utilize a deck of cards. We have to spend our cards for them to do stuff sometimes, but they do not have their own individual decks. This is how it becomes much easier for you to play the solitaire. You don't have to be screwing around with a deck of cards for every soldier that you've got. And then, of course, I've got the M4 carbine, and we've got all the information about that as well. So you'll notice I've got these little counters. Like I've got 2, I've got 1. That's just indicating which soldier is this. So this is soldier number 2. And then we've got a squad soldier. So I'll move these out of the way here. Squad soldier usually don't have anything but just the squad soldier. And it'll tell you, okay, so here's the actions. So with health of 3, 2 actions, 2 and 1, they only get 1 action. Then it tells us, okay, when they attack, this is what their attack does. They've got a cover 2 as well, and they make ranged attacks. So range 1, range 0. We don't have to worry about ammunition for them. We don't have to worry about loadouts for them as well. It's just kind of boom, that's what they are. Because we don't show that they've got any kind of loadout here information. Just like the non-player soldier, they don't have loadout information. I just put the M4 carbine with them because I need that information. So, right? Because it says they got an M4 carbine. So, once again, the rulebook doesn't show you that that's what you're supposed to do. I kind of just went with that because I figured, okay, so that's probably what it does. All right, so we've got the soldiers. We've got, let me show you some equipment and skills. So we've got a few different soldiers, and they're all going to have various different costs and resources. So depending on the mission, you might have over 100 resource points that you can utilize. So you can bring in some of these more veteran soldiers as well. But seeing that we've got it set up for a very short mission, we don't have that many resource points, and I would like to try to have as many soldiers as I possibly can. That's why we've got some of the cheaper options out there. So got quite a few of these, and once again, these have actual photographs of servicemen and women. That's why it kind of throws me off when we get like drug huts. It's like, what is that? They could have just taken some old photo, right? So we've got squad soldiers. We've got the non-player soldiers as well. So we've got different equipment. Sniper rifles, shotguns, pistols, submachine guns, K-bar knives, M67 grenade. Got your Molly, canteen, ACOG sight, and then we've got some skills. So we've got different skills that we can utilize as well. There are a good number of options, but not a ton of options. That's where the expansions really come in. And I will I'll flip through some of those cards from the different expansions when I wrap up. So we got various different soldiers, we got different equipment, we got different skills, got different weapons as well. And it'll tell you skill card, equipment card, weapon card. All right, so that is that stuff. Let's zoom back out a little bit. As I zoom in, it's like dope. Okay, so we got our soldiers here, and I'll kind of give you an idea. This is how the game plays out. So each turn, we're going to have our soldier turn, and then we're going to have our hostile turn. So we're going to start off. I'm playing solitaire. Oh, gotta give that to Row there. There's my 6 cards. Now, as Giancamelli would take wounds, then I lose the number of cards that I am able to have in my hand. If any soldiers ever drop down to 0, they're incapacitated. They're out of action. So I've got my action deck here, and I have Suppress, Combined Fire, Sniper Support, Reloading, Stealth Attack, and Move Out. So, and it'll tell us what these cards all do. Now, there are some cards, I guess I'll zoom back in so I can show you these a little bit. there are some cards that will have brackets. So for an example, here we got brackets, any soldier. We've got any soldier add 1. Here we got brackets, which are 2. We've got like experience points, which sometimes you can have characters start off with experience points. You can gain these as you go through the mission. You can spend those experience points to activate what's in the bracket. So for an example, reloading you, and then here it says any soldier may perform a reload without spending an action. Got a stealth attack. You, once again, then any soldier. So keeping in mind that especially if you're playing solitaire, you is the player soldier. Any soldier are the non-player soldiers as well as the squad soldiers. Okay, so we've got that hand of cards, but we don't have a location. We need locations to be able to move closer to the objective. Now, our covert mission here allows us to recon. So to recon, what recon allows us to do is we get to go through the action deck to find the first location. It's okay. So we got a stream. Then we're going to shuffle this back up. I want to point out that as far as the action deck, if for some strange reason you ran out of cards, you just reshuffle. It's not like, oh, game's over after if you don't have action cards left. It doesn't happen a lot. I mean, it really doesn't happen too much. Okay, so we've got a location, we've got a stream. So it takes 1 action to play, and it is a nature location. So it has an entrance 4. So that means we're going to need our soldiers to spend a movement allowance 4 to get in there. Then it's going to tell us what kind of hostiles are we going to have. So we're going to actually have 6 points worth of hostiles at this stream. Now this goes into my hand. This goes in my hand of cards. So in the turn sequence, I can perform actions. I can attack. I can play an action card. I can reload. I can discard as many cards as I want and redraw up to my hand total. Or I can move. Or I can remove 1 suppress. That's what each soldier gets to do. It's keeping in mind, remember, I've got 3 soldiers, even though I had the 1 player soldier. So the first thing I would probably want to do is, because I want to have a location, I'm going to play the stream card. Zooming back out. So you notice I have put the stream card next to the covert, right? So this is the next in line. So I have 1 action left that I can perform. So what I'm going to do here is I have to put the hostiles on the stream. So we've got the thug, so that's 0. We've got a sniper. And we got a lookout, so that's 4. We got a drug runner, that's 5. And hired muscle is 2. So, even though it's more than 6, I do believe we're supposed to actually take the hostiles until it puts us over the amount. I might be wrong, but I could have swore that's how we do it. So we've got all these hostiles that are in this stream by us. And luckily, some of them only have a range of 0. Now, some of them, one of the things that the hostiles can do is they can actually close range on you during their turn, and they will. Okay, so this is what we'd be doing here. So we got 6. What do we got? Oh, no, we got 5. And normally, I would think you would just kind of put them here so that you know what location they're in. And you would have like your soldiers like down below the board. But what you'll do is, and it's been a while since we've seen him, but you need an opaque container. So out comes Lego Batman. Each of your soldiers has 4 counters for their like hit allocation, or target allocation, I should say. So the thug here is going to be going after number 1. Then we've got number 1 again. We've got number 3. And we got number 1. Wow, they're really going after our player soldier here. And then we've got number 3. So that's who these guys would be trying to attack. One of the interesting little aspects of this too is, say for an example, I was in the same spot as like the thug with my number 1 soldier. If he were to move out of that range, this guy won't attack anybody else. He's waiting. He's just waiting for that one soldier again, which I thought was a little odd, but in a way it's sort of like, okay, well, at least we don't have to get like too deep into it. All right, so we would have these are the guys who are in the stream area. I still have the 1 action for my soldier. So I could attack, I could move, I could discard and draw. I don't need to reload. So what I think I'm going to do with my number 1 soldier, who's got the M16A3, is I'm going to attack. So who should I try to take out here? These guys are all like range 0. Well, he's going after 3. So I'm going to go to try to take the lookout. I've got the M16A3. I can fire semi-automatic, burst, or auto. So the lookout has a 3. So that is basically his cover. So I need to roll that or higher to hit. So I'm actually going to fire a burst. So we're going to roll twice. So a 3 and a 1. So that would be nothing. So neither one is a success. Then I've got an 8 and a 3. So the 8 is a hit because we're at a range of 1. And I rolled an 8. Now I don't have any modifiers. Suppression will change things and stuff like that. And I have a 3, so that means I got over the cover. So I was able to get past the cover. So this lookout is actually killed in action. I've got a little EKIA, enemy killed in action. There's also suppression, though. So you can suppress the target. So for an example, if I had rolled an 8, which would be a hit, but I rolled a 1 as far as the cover, I only have 1 success. That would be a suppression. If I were to roll, let's say, a 2 and a 6, well, I didn't roll the hit, but I got past the cover. That would also be a suppression. One thing I do want to point out, you can't have more than 1 suppression token. So you only have the 1 suppression. But we killed the lookout. So he's gone. He's done. And I've used my 2 actions for my player soldier. So then next I would have Ceradono. I would have my non-player soldier. So he's got the M4. So we're looking at, okay, so why don't we have him try to take out the sniper? So although he's got a cover of 4, so we're looking at, all right, he's at a range of 1. We're gonna roll. He's gonna do a burst too, so we'll roll twice. So we get a 10 and a 6. Boom, got him. So he's gonna be killed as well because we got past the cover and we rolled the hit. So right here, it was a 9 to get the kill. So once again, we got another enemy combatant out of action. But that would still, even though he rolled the 1 die for the burst, we don't get to roll another die. We don't get a second attack. That was our attack. So then we would have our 3rd guy. We've got Row, I should say, who's our squad. I don't want to move anybody into this yet because there's still too many of these guys who can attack us with a range of 0. I don't want to give these guys anything to come after. I want them to come to us. So we've got Row here. He's got a range 1 kill. He needs a 10. And we might as well have him attack the hired muscle. So he gets the 1 roll here. Oh, wow. Got it. The 10 and the 5. Wow, these guys are doing really well here. Boom. So there you go. And I would still have an action I could use, but I don't necessarily have to use any of the actions. Now, what I could have done earlier on is I could have played Combined Fire. But the thing is, my player soldier has the 2 actions. I used 1 action to attack, and we used the other as far as the recon. Or no, I'm sorry, playing the location, playing the stream. So I figure I'll hang on to that when I can really use it to the most effect. My non-player soldier actually had a 3rd action they could have used. I could have attacked again, which I guess I'll do. I'll do that. So we'll do, who we got floating around here? We'll do the drug runner. So he's at a range of 1. And, well, we got the 10, but we did not get the cover. So they're suppressed. And we're like, okay, well, what does suppression do? Well, boom. Of course, you can look in the rules and search around in the rules, or you can just go right here and see it says suppress. When you inflict an EKIA on a hostile with a suppressed weapon attack, in addition to placing an EK counter, also place a suppressed counter on the hostile card. Well, thing is that, and being suppressed is basically going to be a negative for them. Now, it's saying that if you put a KIA on here, that you would also put a suppressed. That's if this has more than 1 hit. As you can see, there's a little target here, which shows how many hits this is going to take these guys out. All right, so that would be the end of our turn. We don't have any suppression. So now we would have the hostiles. So the hostiles, we're going to go and we're going to see. So we've got 3 of them dead, so we got 2 guys left. But we're also seeing if they've got reinforcements. Oops, wrong card, Jeff, dummy. No, they don't. It's too high. So they don't get any reinforcements. Then, so attack. Well, they don't have a range to attack us. They're over in the stream. We're still 1 card away. So they can't attack us. Now they're going to close range. So they move into our landing area, basically. So now they're in the same area with us. And then they can remove a suppression counter. So they get to remove that. And then we would move our mission timer counter down. So once we get down past 1, mission's over. So we need to complete our objective before we run out of time on the mission. So as far as like the hostiles attacking, we'll show you. Like here it says hired muscle. On a 2 or less, it's a miss. A 3 to 7, it's 2 wounds. On an 8 or higher, it's 3 wounds. So this guy's a badass, but he's also a range of 0. We've got here the thug, range of 0. 4 or less is a miss. 5 or higher, they would cause 1 wound. Now we've got these little wound tokens here. Let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there's like a little bandage on the back. So say for an example, Rome took a wound. So he would get 1, right? So if we tried to use the first aid kit and we were not able to heal this wound, we would actually flip it over so that it shows a bandage on it. Every time you take a wound with these soldiers, you're not going to just like sit there. Let's say, for an example, takes another wound, 1 point. You're not going to use a 2. You're going to use another 1. Here we go. Like so. because these wounds are treated separately. They're not this. It's not the same thing. It's not. You're not like losing hit points. You're being wounded, and each wound is a new wound that needs to be treated. So, of course, and then you need like a first aid kit to be able to do that. So basically, what you're going to continue to do is you are going to try to move along. So, for an example, the movement. Let's say we got a new turn going, right? And let's say we took out all of these guys. These guys are all dead. So we got the stream. The stream has an entrance of 4. It's going to cost us 4. So remember, we've got our one guy with the lead in his ass. So his movement's only 2. You actually have to discard cards to make up for that movement. So I would have to discard a couple of cards, and then he would be able to move. So that would be one of the actions. We've got Rome has a move of 2. I would have to discard 2 more cards to get him to move as well. So he's 3. And then we've got our non-player soldier actually has a movement of 4, so he doesn't cost us anything to get in there. But we would have to discard these cards in order to get them to move. So one of my actions, no doubt, I would have sat there. And of course, I wouldn't have just blindly discarded. I would have picked the cards I want to discard. But one of my actions, I would certainly look to draw 4 more cards. Keeping in mind, we still need to find locations. Here we go. So we would have another location. We would have a jungle location. So that's what you're going to continue doing. So we would go to the jungle. We would get new hostiles that we would have to take care of. Hopefully we're able to wipe them out. And then at some point, when we're next to this card, we can activate it. And of course, we would get our hostiles. Put our hostiles out here. But so for an example, jungle would be, we would be taking 4 points of hostiles. So we're pretending that we killed these guys, that they're gone. We took these guys out. We took these drug cartel scumbags out. Okay, we're just going to play it like that. Here's our discard. So we'll say we get... we got a rocket team. Crap, that's 2. So we only got to do 4. We got a drug runner, a thug, and a lookout. So we got 4 guys in that jungle. So we'd have to take these guys out. And that's pretty wild. A rocket team, they're tough guys. For one, they take 2 hits. And they can really start blowing us up pretty good. So here it says screened by thug and drug runner. So that means we've got the drug runner and the thug. We need to take these 2 guys out first before we can take out this rocket team. Now, they're going to keep attacking us. They don't care. So some of the bad guys in here, some of the hostiles are pretty tough, pretty interesting. So for an example here, if we didn't have a thug and we didn't have a drug runner, let's say we had a couple of lookouts, we won't have to worry about them being screened because it just says thugs and drug runners. We'll screen them, and we need a 5 to be able to hit through cover. So anyway, kind of give you an idea how the game plays. It's pretty funny because I've already gone like an hour talking about this game, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm gonna kind of do a high level look at the game. But the thing is, I have to kind of go through this stuff to kind of show you how the game plays out. So at one point, hopefully, we would be able to get to the cartel boss, be fighting these bad guys, and take them out before we finished up our 8th turn. Because if you remember, we had, in the time for the mission, we had 8. So, so that is pretty much how you play Warfighter. Or Warfighter. Warfighter? What am I thinking? Can't even talk. I needed a sip here. Anyway, that is effectively how you play Warfighter. Now, there are some expansions. I will zoom in for this, kind of show some of these off. So we've got a Eastern European adversaries, which I thought was kind of interesting. So we've got, these are all locations here, which is pretty wild. So this is all pretty much just like a brand new theater for you to play in. So we've got new hostiles, got new missions, and we got new objectives as well. So that's what comes in the Eastern European adversaries. All of these expansions do run $19.99. So we've got that. Then we've got, which was the first expansion, it was Reloaded. So this gives us more weapons, more soldiers, more locations, more missions. So here we got some more equipment. Now some of the equipment is actually duplicates of what we already have, but that's how we get to, with your different player soldiers, like if you're playing multiple players, let's say you're playing 2, 3, 4 players, that way everybody's got their equipment cards. We got some more skills. We've got some more weapons. We've got some new weapons. We also have some duplicate weapons. We've got new locations for the jungle. Or I say a new location. We've got some additional action cards that do new stuff. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Got a new location for the Middle East. We've got some new bad guys for the drug cartels. New missions for the drug cartels. Then we got new soldiers. Which I really dug the fact that we had some more new soldiers because depending on how many resources you've got available to you in the mission, you get a lot more variety to it. I will point out it's not super easy to figure out how to load out the soldiers and which soldiers are going to work best for which missions. So we got some new insurgents for the Middle East. We've got new military for the Middle East, as well as we got a new mission and a new objective for the Middle East. So in the core game, I'll show you the Middle East for the core game. You get a pretty good sized deck. So these are the locations. Interestingly enough, when you're playing the Middle East scenarios, there aren't as many reinforcements coming in, but the bad guys tend to be a bit tougher. So there are also some event cards that can take place as well. So those are kind of interesting too. So these are all the Middle East cards. So we got different military, we got different insurgents, got different missions, different objectives. So this is from the core game. This deck is from the core game for the Middle East. Just like these are some of the other objectives for the jungle. So anyway, so I showed you the Reloaded expansion. Then the other expansion that they sent was Speedball. So this is more Middle East, more jungle for drug cartels. So we get some new equipment. That's pretty wild. We get a support helicopter. Some more weapons again. Once again, we got some duplicates for multiple players. Get a few new ones too. Like the MK24 pistol, which is silenced. Got the MK48 machine gun. The M320 grenade launcher. These are all new weapons. Got some more equipment. We already have the knee elbow pads because that's how we boosted the movement by 1. But some other stuff we got. Red dot sight, the body armor. These are new. The helmet. The ghillie suit. Then we get situation report cards. So this is something kind of new. So on your own, stealth, double time. Then we get some more skill cards. Point blank is new. Good to Go is new. And then we get some new soldiers, and we actually get some female soldiers as well. I think we had 2. So, and that is in our Speedball expansion. As I said, once again, the expansions are $19.99, and the MSRP of Warfighter is $59.99. One thing I was going to say before I jump into my final thoughts and my review score is that I have seen the modern edition of Warfighter from online retailers going for as low as about $42 online. I know people get upset when I talk about online retailers. I just mention it in case saving those few bucks is a big deal. For some people, it is. It's a huge deal. Other people, they're like, no, I want to support my friendly local game store. And by all means, I welcome you to do that as well. So I kind of showed you how to play Warfighter, the modern edition. So what are my thoughts? So first of all, I really wish that the rulebook itself was devoted to the modern game. It's really given like the short end of the stick, as I mentioned before when I was showing off the rulebook. The rulebook seems to be all devoted to World War II. That's why, you know, if they do a fantasy game, if they do a near future kind of game, which I think Shadow War might be, they're going to get the even shorter end of the stick because a lot of this information in the rulebook just doesn't apply. Like the campaign information, it's all World War II campaigns. The mission information, it's all World War II stuff. I wish the rulebook was a little smoother as far as accessibility. It's not terrible, but it is kind of ragtag a little bit. Thankfully, the keyword chart comes in handy, but once again, like I said, this should not be... These are not keywords. This is like a glossary. You don't have like 200 keywords in a game. All that said, I think this game is awesome. And I'm sure I'm playing some of it wrong. You know, I have a feeling that we were playing something a little bit wrong. Not positive what, but I guarantee that there's been a couple of things that we've probably messed up as we've played. But it is a blast. It is a blast solitaire. It is a blast with multiple players as well. Will point out you might not want to get a whole lot of players involved in playing because that really starts upping the play time. Start getting into a little analysis paralysis, especially if you're playing with players who aren't going to share what their hand of cards is with you so everybody can discuss, hey, you should use that. Hey, why don't you use that? Because it is cooperative. But then there are people who are like, no, man, I'm going to do my own thing for my own soldier. And I completely get that. So I would probably not want to go more than 4 players because then I think the game might drag. Can't say for sure because I have not, but I kind of get an impression that it might drag a little bit. At first glance, it doesn't look like there's a lot of cards in the core game, but it doesn't look like there's like, wow, you know, there's only so many missions, there's only so many objectives. It's kind of like, you know, is the replayability going to suffer for that? And I'll say no, absolutely not. There is tons of replayability because you're never going to go through like the whole hostiles deck. You're not going to go through, you know, you've got the various different missions and objectives, so you can kind of swap those around a little bit. I wish there was a little bit more information as far as doing a modern campaign in the book with experience points, things like that. If you've played like any of the leader games from Dan Verssen Games, that there is that like experience level that you're, you know, going up. I would like to have seen a little bit more of that, where you could like spend points to get skills as opposed to having like your resource points. But once again, that's just something I'd like to see. I'm not knocking the game. I'm not dinging the game for that. Every time you play, it's different. You get a whole full narrative from playing. It's really a game that you have a story to tell about the mission that your players were on once you're done playing. And that is something that I love. I love about games. I especially dig games that once you play, you've got a story to share with your friends or with somebody who wasn't able to make it to the game table that night. I love the thematic feel of it. I like the fact that you're not there's like lot of little things going on, but it's not overwhelming. It's not like some war games where you've got like tons and tons of little rules about little things that only come up every once in a while. Everything's really kind of boiled down into just a few roles. Like your ammunition and your taking advantage of cover and being able to hit your enemies while they're in cover. All pretty much taken care of, rolling a couple of dice, boom, one roll, you got everything you need, all the information right in front of you. I really, really dig that as well. I like the variety that's here. All in all, I mean, I just think this is fantastic. I would love to see the World War II game. I'd love to see the modern game that comes out. I have always been a big fan of Dan Verssen Games, the ones I have played. I have never played something that I did not like from Dan Verssen Games, and I'm very glad to have had DVG send me the review copy for Warfighter as well as the expansions as well, because it had been a long time, like 6 years since I had reviewed anything from DVG. It was back when I lived out in Arizona. It might be, more than 6 years, might be 7. But really, really dig it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, even with my critique of the rule book, and how it's not as intuitive as it could be. It's not terrible. It's not as intuitive as it could be. And how I feel that the modern kind of got the short end of the stick. And that is, without going online, the campaigns and things like that are completely clueless as far as, what you can put together. I'm sure there's downloads. But even with all those little things that I'm kind of dinging the game for, I think it's awesome. So on a scale of 1 to 10, get ready for it. Even with those little dings, even with my little critiques, I give Warfighter, what I like to just say, Warfighter Modern Edition, a 9.6 out of 10. It is that good. If you like solitaire games that have a lot of variety, I mean, you're going to lose missions too. You are going to see, you're going to get soldiers killed. You're going to put the wrong loadouts together. You're not going to, it happens. It is also a game that every time you play, you learn something a little bit different, and you're like, oh yeah, you know what? I should have used this soldier and maybe gone with this loadout. So I like the fact that as you're playing, you're learning new things about the game and how to approach the game as well. Really, really enjoy it a whole lot. So that is it for tonight's show. As I mentioned on Monday's show, let me move the stack around here. I will be unboxing and taking a first look at Valparaiso from Stronghold Games. Give you a little peek at the back here. So artwork's really nice. I like the artwork on this. As I mentioned, this is kind of a like an economic trading game in 16th century Chile. I think you're trying to become like, top merchant kind of thing. I believe. I'm not positive because I haven't cracked open the box, right? I take my unboxings very seriously. I like to kind of approach them like it's a surprise. It's like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You don't know what you're going to get, right? So that's on Monday's show. As I like to point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, by all means, please visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now, you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Those of you who are in chat, and I don't know, I think chat crapped out on me again because I don't see anybody saying anything for like the last 50 minutes. Thank you very much for joining me and keeping me company. I will be off tomorrow for the 4th of July as well as Friday the 5th. So I'm taking a nice 4-day holiday weekend. So those of you in the United States, have a very, very happy 4th of July. Have a very safe holiday weekend as well. If you happen to live outside the U.S., have a great weekend. And have a safe weekend too. I will be back on Monday. So until then, everybody Thank you very much for watching. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.